My stepmom spent 11 years turning my dad against me, so I spent 1 year turning her daughter against her. My stepmom Diane married my dad when I was 12 and immediately started her campaign to erase me from his life. She had a psychology degree and knew exactly how to play the long game without leaving fingerprints. She'd plant tiny seeds of doubt in my dad's ear every single day. Little sighs when I walked in the room, worried looks when I laughed too loud. She'd touch his arm gently and whisper things that sounded caring but were actually poison. By high school, I was failing at everything without even trying. Made honor roll. Diane would shake her head sadly at dinner, mentioning how grades don't equal good character. Scored the winning goal in soccer. She'd frown and wonder aloud if all that aggression was healthy for a teenage girl. The genius part was how she'd comfort my dad afterward. She'd make him tea and rub his back, murmuring about how hard it must be, having a difficult daughter. She was breaking his heart while positioning herself as the only one who could fix it. Her daughter Juniper lived in a completely different universe. Private school tuition, brand new BMW for her sweet 16, summers in Italy studying art. I took the bus to public school and worked nights at a grocery store to save for community college. When I mentioned the unfairness once, my dad just said Juniper was more grateful for things. Senior year nearly killed me. I'd been grinding for months to get into state university, running on 3 hours of sleep, pulling my grades up from the damage of years of not caring. When that acceptance letter came, I felt like I could finally breathe again. I rushed to find my dad, but Diane blocked my path in the hallway. She put on that fake concerned face and suggested I wait until after dinner since dad had a stressful day. At dinner, she announced that Juniper got into her backup school. My dad praised her for 10 minutes straight. When I finally mentioned my acceptance, Diane immediately launched into concerns about whether I could handle the pressure, how state schools weren't for everyone, maybe I should consider a gap year. My dad skipped my graduation. Diane convinced him I'd probably make a scene and embarrass everyone. I walked across that stage to collect my diploma, scanning the empty seats where my family should have been. The next year, Juniper's graduation was treated like a presidential inauguration. The truth came out 5 years later. I was 23, juggling 2 jobs to pay for college, barely keeping my head above water. My aunt called me, drunk and furious after a family dinner I hadn't been invited to. She told me my dad had been trying to reach me for years, calling when I was in class, leaving voicemails, sending texts asking why I hated him. Diane had been deleting everything, blocking his number on my phone during visits, telling him I wanted nothing to do with him. I drove straight to their house, found Diane in her pristine kitchen making her gourmet dinner. When I confronted her, she didn't even pretend to be sorry. She just smiled that therapist smile and said my father was happier without my drama. She'd done what was best for everyone. That's when I decided she'd lose everything she'd stolen from me. But I wouldn't go after Diane directly. I'd go after the one thing she'd created and controlled more than anything else, her precious Juniper. I started reaching out to Juniper, not fake friendly, but genuinely connecting over coffee and long talks. Living with Diane as your actual mother was its own special torture. She'd been reading Juniper's diary since elementary school, tracking her location at 22, choosing her major, her friends, even approving her boyfriends like she was casting a play. I introduced Juniper to revolutionary concepts like privacy and boundaries, took her to her first therapy appointment, showed her articles about emotional manipulation and controlling parents, watched her world shatter and rebuild with each revelation. The more Juniper understood, the more she pulled away. When Diane guilt-tripped her about missing family dinners, Juniper recognized emotional blackmail. When Diane cried about being unappreciated, Juniper saw manipulation tactics. Every controlling behavior suddenly had a name and a solution. Everything exploded at Thanksgiving dinner. Juniper announced she'd accepted a job offer in Seattle and was moving after New Year's. Diane's perfect mask finally cracked. She screamed. She threatened. She blamed me for poisoning her daughter's mind. The whole family watched her true face emerge, twisted with rage and desperation. My dad sat frozen as his perfect wife revealed herself as the monster I'd always known. Juniper stayed calm through it all. She told Diane she was done being controlled, done living a life scripted by someone else, done being the perfect daughter in a perfect prison. Then she looked at me and said I was the only real family she had. These days, Diane calls me constantly, sobbing, begging me to make Juniper talk to her. Just one phone call, she pleads. I have no idea what it's like to lose a daughter, she wails. But I do know. I lost a father for 11 years because of her. Juniper's thriving in Seattle. We video chat every week, planning visits, sharing our lives like real sisters do. She sends me photos of her tiny apartment that Diane's never seen, her boyfriend Diane's never met, her life that Diane can't touch. Diane's social media is just old photos of Juniper with desperate captions about missing her angel. Comments are turned off because people kept asking why Juniper never interacts with her posts anymore. My dad and I are slowly rebuilding what we lost. He tears up sometimes when we have dinner, realizing how much time was stolen from us. Diane still lives in that perfect house with that perfect kitchen, but now she eats every meal alone. She stole my father and gave me a sister I never expected. But I took her daughter and gave her exactly what she deserved, complete powerlessness. She spent years controlling everyone around her, and now she can't even control who picks up her calls.